Hey, what's up? It's Alfonso on Ask the Fonz. Today's topic is assistant editor interviews. Well, I actually wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to start an assistant editor series. Basically, just going to go over some of the topics geared towards more specifically towards assistant editors because I think, in order to become a Hollywood editor, you need to obviously start as an assistant editor and learn the ropes that way. And no one is ever really going to just jump into being a Hollywood editor immediately right after college or right after school, or even as a normal editor in some other field. You can't just really jump into being a Hollywood editor. So the proper route, also I went over this in my how to become a Hollywood editor video, which you can find up here, and basically just kind of detailing how to become an editor the proper way, starting as a post PA and then becoming an assistant editor, and obviously getting into the union and then becoming a union assistant editor, and then eventually becoming a Hollywood editor. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So the main part that I want to talk about interviewing as an assistant editor is it's all about personality. Yeah, sure, skills matter, and like the tasks and responsibilities obviously weigh heavy on the interview, but at the end of the day, if you have a great personality and if you have a great attitude and you have a good sense of humor and you're just an overall enthusiastic and passionate editor, 9 times out of 10, they will choose that characteristic over somebody else who doesn't have those qualities. A lot of it comes down to that. And normally, if you don't know how to do a certain skill or responsibility, they're usually more forgiving about that because you can technically learn on the job. Not every job is going to be the same as far as workflow or tasks that you're going to do. So everyone knows that, and you just have to be willing to learn and give it your all and know how to troubleshoot or, learn that specific skill. So definitely show off your personality is my first piece of advice. Another thing I like to do when I know I have an interview is I like to come up with a lot of stories of my experiences and very detailed responsibilities that I've done. It just helps kind of put in context what you've done in the past so that they can sort of take away some of the experiences that you've shared and put it into their mind that, yeah, you've gone through this process before, and they're going to feel more confident in you that you can do the job. Actually, this past job that I interviewed for, one of the questions that my supervisor asked was, can you set up an editing suite without any technical support? That was a good question because it was testing me and asking how I would handle myself in a situation like that. Now, my answer was, sometimes you don't want to go too overboard and say like, yeah, I can do everything. Like, it just sounds a little bit fake, right? So my answer to that was, yeah, I've worked with an independent feature film editor who mainly works at his home and has his home set up there and has 2 or 3 systems. And I was in charge of basically putting it all together and making sure everything ran smoothly. And to be honest, like, I won't know everything, but I have a group of people who I can reach out to. And, if anything does come up, like, I also have the internet and I have resources that I can go to. So I can definitely handle myself, but obviously if I don't know something, then I can also reach out to the close group of friends that I have. So an answer like that, it makes it a little bit more real. I think that is important, is come up with stories, real stories that you've gone through. And to be honest, if you don't have any stories that way, say that, say like, hey, like I'm honestly, I just graduated from college, but I was on this student film that I was shadowing someone who actually went through a very similar process, not exactly quite like that. But if I end up being in charge of that responsibility, I can easily, phone a friend who has, phone that friend who has gone through that, So put it into real context. And I think the more real you are, the more that they'll obviously want to get to know you more. Definitely come up with stories because it helps the supervisor see you in that specific situation. My next piece of advice is print out your resume and print out like 2 or 3 copies because you just never know who's going to be there. Printing out your resume is actually a good idea because it gives, the interviewer and you talking points of how the interview is going to go. A lot of editors like to test you and like to put you on the spot, so be ready for that. I actually have a list on my phone where questions that stumped me. What was a mistake that you've done in the past, and how did you rebound from it, or what happened and how did you fix it? How did you solve it? Questions like that. Those are good questions to kind of prepare for, because you just never know. Like, editors like to know how you are when you don't know something or when something comes up, because a lot of the times as an assistant editor, it's a lot of troubleshooting. It's a lot of time constraints. People want to know the experience you have on workflow. So there's going to be a lot of questions on like, so how did you, what was the workflow on this specific project? How did you get the dailies from on set to your editing room, and what happened? What was the handoff like? Did you guys go to a post facility? Did you do it in-house? And then how did you do the visual effects? Did an outside vendor process the DPX files in order to give to the vendor, or did you do it yourself? So there's a lot of workflows out there, and remember, there's no one same workflow for every single show. So make sure you sort of explain the process of how you worked in your previous job. Or if you haven't had that experience, you can totally say like, hey, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I never really had a formal professional show workflow, but in my student project or in my school, this is how we did things. And 9 times out of 10, people will respect that, because you're paying attention to how you process dailies or process footage. Put it in your head, like, this is how point A got to point B to point C to point D, and this is what happened. Get in the habit of, after every show that you go on, kind of make a mental note or even write it down and just think about, oh, this is how we did it. This is the exact workflow that we did. So workflow questions are huge, and they will definitely come up in your interview. And then, also before I wrap this up, I do want to also add to make sure you have questions on hand. Make sure you prepare questions for the interviewer, because a lot of the times they're always going to ask, hey, do you have any questions for me? And 9 times out of 10, a lot of people just like, no, I'm good. Like, If you don't have a question on the spot, kind of just give a, hey, I really appreciate the interview, and I actually am looking forward to getting to know more about the gig. And, if all works out, I really do look forward into learning more about the workflow and shadowing these editors or shadowing this editor, and getting to know more of the producers and kind of getting involved in this show, because it seems like such a great production to be a part of. So something like that to kind of just like show your enthusiasm and show your interest. So ask questions and show a lot of interest. So if you dug all of my advice, feel free to follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm on all forms of social media. So definitely give me a follow. At my Twitter handle is Ask the Fonz. And I also do one-on-one phone sessions. So if you want to get my help personally, you can sign up for an appointment at www.askthefonz.com. We can talk and help you get your career mapped and answer any specific questions that you have. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found something useful here. Until next time.